Hello.
Hello and welcome to day one of the 2019 Genesis of Androzani Advent Calendar.
Correct.
We are here again, and you seem very enthusiastic to start this 25-day marathon.
Yeah, we got a lot to shoot.
But more on that. 25 days, each day, uploading a video, hopefully. Because last year that was a disaster and didn't go in order.
We got about halfway there and then things started going out of order.
Yeah, I think day 19 was late. Day 23 was late, but yeah.
And then day 24 came after Christmas, I think.
No, that one was on time.
Oh.
Day 23 was not.
I see.
Day 19 was not either because that was the last one I edited because it was the Series 11 recap.
Ah, yes.
And I think the live stream came last as well. Anyway, but this year we're much more prepared. Way more prepared. Doing it months in advance. It's gone quickly, but we're doing it months in advance, not just the week before December. So hopefully everything will be ship-shape and on time.
If this is not day one, then you have an idea of how this is going.
Yeah. You'll find out. But at the time of this recording, I have scheduled day 3, and that's it.
Up to day 3.
No, only day 3.
Oh! There you go.
How could I have scheduled day 1? We're filming it now.
Oh, yeah. True.
Anyway, but each day from the 1st to the 25th of December, you'll all get a video in your feed. It'll just have the day, and you won't know what it is until you open it. It's a little present, like an advent calendar. Now, in terms of Patreon, days 1 to 25 will not get early access because I want everyone to watch it all at the same time. However, to reward you for all of your generous contributions, there will be an extended calendar at the end from days 26 to 31, which you guys will get like an extra sort of week worth of videos, and then those will be released in the new year in 2020 week by week. So yeah. Look forward to that Patreon extended calendar post-Christmas. Good. But yes, if you're interested, I was going to say HTTV because I'm used to typing that. Patreon.com/Genesis of Androzani if you'd like to contribute to the channel. We have multiple tiers, such as the Timey-Wimey tier, where you get early access to videos, except for those 25, but mostly. Exclusive access to videos, which has become a little bit more active lately, as Callum and I have found a way to do things through Discord and OBS, and we've done a few videos on there, such as we did some tests of it, and we recently did a breakdown of Wingy Media's review of Mission to the Unknown, and also Josh Nair's video about animation, so go to Patreon to check that out. That was some good fun. And
there's one audio commentary by me.
There is. And there is a reaction to the Wheel in Space mini-episode animation.
Right. Here we are.
I think that's it so far.
Yeah.
Apart from the little tests that I've done. And then there's also the Master tier where you can request videos for us to do, such as the 4-hour first seasons video we did for Azmat Mahmood recently, where the actual contributions that he gave us was less than what I had to spend on my Uber home. But that's okay.
The joys of living in a big place.
Yes.
Auckland is large.
Yes, but the transport is not 24/7 like it should be. No.
But that's neither here nor there because it never comes on time! But that's fine.
Twitter.com/Androzani, or as like you like to call it, Gandrozani.
Androzani, it rolls off the tongue.
If you like to talk about some hectic shit and get involved in some
again, I would like to clarify.
conversations.
I'd like to clarify, as I usually do, I have no involvement on the Twitter. It's all him.
It's all me. Yep. But yeah, if you want to contact me or have a discussion and just banter,
it's a good way to directly contact him.
Yeah, it is actually. It's how Callum came to contact with me, and now I think, I'm not 100% sure on this, but he may be the most featured guest we've had on the channel.
Yeah?
Quite possibly. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell.
Well, Jack's only been on what?
I'm saying it's either you or him, and I can't remember which ones have more videos. Think about this. Almost all of the MCU, all of Spider-Man, all of X-Men, and 2 Star Wars. That's a lot.
Yeah, and me with...
And by the time this comes out, he would have been on even more.
And me with some Doctor Who. You can do the analytics. I can't remember what I've done.
Some Doctor Who, some MCU.
That's like on 3 MCU videos.
More than that.
No, I was not on that many.
You were on Iron Man 3.
Yep.
You were on...
Guardians 2.
Winter Soldier.
Civil War.
Endgame. Doctor Strange. Twice.
And I was on Doctor Strange twice. That's 6 out of 22.
7 out of 23.
Well, there we are.
Yeah. Anyway.
You want it, that's the way you need.
But anyway, that's all available.
Yeah.
Now, for what this video is, because you all are anxiously waiting to find out.
because there might be a title when they first...
Exactly, for you anxiously waiting to find out. So, I've decided the fitting video for day 1, considering to kick this off with a bang, is to do a video that is inspired by the name of our channel. And that is a debate, and it's not necessarily one side versus another, because I don't think, like, most debates tend to have... a moderator and then point A and point B. Yeah, whereas I think this one, we both are on the fence about, to a certain degree, about both of the options, so I think it's going to be
because we're breaking down all the elements.
More of a discussion to nail it down to which side is better.
And the thing is, like, even to begin with, before we say anything, it's so hard to say which is better, because even though there are a lot of parallels, they are so different.
But because you don't know what we're talking about, based on our channel Genesis of Androzani, we're doing a debate about the story's genesis of the Daleks versus the caves of Androzani.
Ooh.
So I will leave polls in the description for this, because there are going to be 5 different categories we discuss, and I want you all to vote for which story you think does better in each of the categories, and then overall verdict at the end. But for us, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all those 5 categories and then come to an overall verdict at the end. Those 5 categories are the Doctor, the companions, the villains, the plot, and the significance. So, have you got anything to say before we start this?
They're both cracking stories and everyone should go watch them.
Yep. Okay, so we will start with the Doctor. So, Tom Baker in Genesis of the Daleks.
What I like about this story... I'm just going to focus on Genesis because it'll be very easy for me to trail into both. So I'm just going to focus on Genesis. He's on the back foot. Because up until this point, obviously he's been challenged just due to the nature of the show. But he's sort of thrown...
By bubble wrap.
Yeah. But he's just he's thrown into a place where he doesn't want to be. And it immediately puts him on the back foot. And even though, he's still, he's fun and he's Tom Baker, you can tell things are off. Things are more serious than before.
I think the moment where that starts is when he's got his foot on the landmine.
Yes. It immediately just... The tone, which I'm sure is something we'll talk about a lot across both of these, there's still a sense of fun to him, but there's also this sense of dread that obviously we know he goes on to do multiple seasons after this, but this could very well be the end of him, just by virtue of the nature of the story and the way he's acting around everything. It just feels almost like this could be it. There's no sense of security.
Well, if he pulled an Eccleston, this could have been his finale.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just make Revenge of the Cybermen one story earlier.
Yeah, just swap them around.
That would be a weird regeneration story.
But it was, it's but yes, he's confronted with quite an existential question as well, which is what makes this part of what makes the story so brilliant. Is it for the Doctor? His whole thing reaches a point where he realizes, as he says, "Have I the right?" It's this, even though it's called Genesis of the Daleks, it could easily just be called Genocide of the Daleks as well, because it's teetering on that edge of, do the ends justify the means? And does it's I think it's probably the first time we truly see this version of the Doctor philosophically challenged. And that's what makes this episode so captivating on a character standpoint for him, because he's just thrust into this world of violence and war and this part that could significantly change the course of not only his life but the universe as a whole. And he's, he's on like a razor's edge the whole time, and it makes him so captivating to watch. It's one of Baker's, if not Baker's best performances as the Doctor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his first 3 stories, he did an absolutely amazing job at establishing the character, his personality, and his performance. By that point, we had gotten a full sort of range of his, his humour and his quips and whatnot. But I think Genesis of the Daleks is what set him in stone in history of the show.
Oh, yeah. That's
the point where Tom Baker became the iconic classic Doctor.
It's when he became fully rounded as a character.
Absolutely. And he's amazing in it.
Yeah, he's so good.
And particularly his scenes with Davros.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's some of the best in the whole show.
Yeah. Bar none. It's incredible.
Absolutely. And and I think it's the one where, because there's always these episodes where the individual Doctors establish who they are separate to the others, but this is the one that sort of makes the Fourth Doctor feel connected to all the others.
Yeah, absolutely. This is part of the DNA of the show at this point, because of how well established and how much it fleshes out this version of the Doctor and his place within the the lineage of Doctors.
Absolutely. And then you get like funny scenes where they empty out his pockets. That's great.
Yeah. There's still that sense of childlike wonder to him, but he is being far more challenged than he ever has been before in this particular incarnation of the Doctor.
Yes, absolutely. And then contrast that to Peter Davison in the Caves of Androzani.
Yes.
Now this is an interesting one because 99% of the time, almost always, if you ask me to compare the 4th to the 5th Doctor, I'm almost always going to say the 4th Doctor, because if you've seen the ranking we did in the last Advent Calendar, Tom Baker was my favourite classic Doctor and Peter Davison was my least. However, I feel like in this instance, this may be the one exception.
I'd say so.
Because this is it's not even close. This is Peter Davison's best episode as the Doctor, not just as a character, as a performer, just everything as one. And it's not only that, it's one of the best episodes for the Doctor in the entire show.
Yeah. It's this thing of the Doctor becoming on the back foot fairly quickly. And it just...
Well, he's dead in the first scene, second scene or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's stakes are high immediately.
And the payoff, the salary actually got used.
It's brilliant. And it's in terms of singular performances of the character, this is one of the best across the whole history of the show.
Yeah. There's a few stories throughout the entire show that tend to have, and a lot of the time they end up being brilliant, is when the actual story itself it's entirely based around the characterization of the Doctor that's in it. This is one of those where everything in the story is measurable for this passive Doctor. It's the ultimate challenge for the 5th Doctor. Yeah. It's the same way that The Greatest Show in the Galaxy for the 7th Doctor, or Midnight for the 10th Doctor. Well,
yeah, I was going to bring that up. There are, even though it's a completely different story, Caves is a much, I wouldn't say grand, but it's a bigger story than Midnight for sure. But there is in terms of what's going on and the way the character is completely on the back foot, completely, he's the underdog completely in this story, that makes it so compelling to see him try to be his peaceful, charming, usual, somewhat whimsical self, especially this version of the Doctor who, as you said, is typically so passive, being thrust into this violent, angry, grimy place, which is so in contrast to everything this version of the character stands for.
He's trying to use table manners in a war zone. And it's not working out for him at all. But but I think as an and just not as sorry, what was I saying? Not just as the Doctor, but in terms of the acting from Davison, it's the best he ever got in the show, in the TV show, because he just I don't know what happened, but it may have just been he just read the script and he knew finally it was good. Got it. He finally got it. He nailed it on the head.
I think it's because it's the only script where they wrote it exactly how he had pictured it.
Yeah.
How he'd always wanted it. Like because I've seen him in a Q&A before, and when he talks about this, he just read the script and he's like, oh, like thank God, like this is it.
Yeah.
Though he said, I'm slightly abbreviating here, but he says that had the script, that script made him want to say, actually, I don't want to regenerate. But he didn't want to take that gamble in case it didn't pay off. He's like, this is so good, this is so perfect that I want to leave it here. I've made the right decision to leave it here, but by God, I wish I could stay to get more scripts like this. But seeing what followed after him...
This is the thing, I think, in contrast to this, one of the reasons Baker stayed for so long is because his first 4 seasons were basically being under the hand of Robert Holmes.
Yeah, it's
Robert Holmes obviously wrote Caves of Androzani, so that kind of influence on your writing can make you be passionate about what you're doing, because the scripts are so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
Doctor, both of them are great. Are we like giving them a point system?
Well, what we have to do is we have to come down to a verdict on
Davison.
Which one's better.
Davison.
Yep. It's the only time that I'll probably ever say that Davison over Baker, but it's just true.
It's just what his version... I mean, Big Finish, of course. They found this version of the Doctor and ran with it. This is his version of the Doctor in most of his stories that I've heard. But this Caves of Androzani is the quintessential Fifth Doctor. This is what all the best elements of that version of the character brought to the forefront. And that's not to say that that isn't the case with the Fourth Doctor, but the Fourth Doctor has so many other stories where he's brilliant, and he's got really captivating stories, and Tom Baker's performance is exquisite. But this is one where just, all the ducks are in the row, or whatever the fuck that saying is. Everything was lined up perfectly. The planets aligned, the stars aligned, and everything just fired on all cylinders. And it was just perfect. It was brilliant character writing. You could show someone who'd never watched Classic Who, and they'd be like, oh, I get this version of that character. Oh, that performance is incredible. And they'll probably be quite, sucked into the whole story, not only just because of everything else that's going on, but due to the strength alone of Davison's performance.
Yeah. In terms of acting, there's a couple of Baker stories that I might consider contention, though. Like Deadly Assassin, I'd say, is one.
Yeah.
Probably Pyramids of Mars.
Invasion of Time.
Nope. That's in contention with Hellbent for worst. Though it's not the fault of the actor.
No, never is.
It's in terms of characterization, that's...
Yeah.
We won't talk about that. Maybe we'll do a debate Invasion of Time versus Hellbent. Although we already sort of did that on the Invasion of Time video anyway.
It just scrapes by.
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to steal the shape.
As does Davison. Davison scrapes by Baker for me.
Yeah.
Because they're both amazing, but I think the Caves performance, it's such a defining moment for the Doctor's character. And within the context of the entire show. So is Genesis, but Caves, the Doctor personally, I think, is more. But it's
especially because it kills him.
Yes.
He loses.
Yes.
He saves Perry, but he dies.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, Caves gets the first vote. 1-0 in the lead so far. Shall we move on to the next section? Well, speaking of Perry, the second section is the companion. So why don't you start with Perry? Go ahead for Caves of Androzani.
She's really good in it.
Second story?
Yeah. It's the second story, and she's just... There's this sort of... Again, it's this whole... It's not just challenging the Doctor, but sort of challenging the nature of the show, where the companion and the Doctor arrive on this planet, fairly typical starting point. And then, you know, they're poisoned. And then she's dying in her second story. And there's a sense of urgency, but, you know, her significance in the story, she's not just a plot element. The way she, you know, bounces off all the other characters and her place in the story.
Yeah, we'll get more to that in the villains.
Yeah. Her place in the story is significant. And Nicola Bryant.
Yep.
Nicola Bryant. I had a blank. I'm very tired. I'm sorry. But Nicola Bryant, she's incredible in it, and it's probably her best on-screen performance as Perry as well.
I'd say so. Which is surprising because I tend to lump her more with Colin Baker in general, but Caves is Caves.
Caves is Caves. And I actually quite like Perry. I know she gets a bit of flack online, but I quite like Perry as a companion generally.
I mean...
But I do think this is her strongest performance.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose some people aren't big fans of the fake accent.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really bother me that much.
No.
I mean, maybe because they just don't like the Sixth Doctor, because they're wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, she's fantastic in it.
Yeah. It's hard to talk about it without talking about the villains.
Yeah.
Because their best scenes are with Shiraz Jack.
Yeah. Well, why don't you move on to the Genesis of the Daleks companions?
Right, so with Genesis, we have 2 companions.
Yeah.
That may give it a slight bump up, because I was going to... Like, at first, when you think about companions, you straight away think of Perry with Shiraz Jack. Mm-hmm. And that's all great. And, you know, with obviously the Doctor sacrificing himself for her, and that's fantastic. But then you compare that to Sarah Jane Smith and Harry Sullivan.
My dad.
Yes. Harry Sullivan, who... What I love about him in Genesis of the Daleks is just... He is the innocent bystander.
Yeah.
You know, and I fucking adore the fact that Harry Sullivan was chosen for that season, because he is perfect for this story.
Yeah.
Because he has no idea what the hell's going on. And I think that within the context of the story, that represents war quite well. Because there's a lot of complex political moves going on, and you've just got this one guy who's been swept up by the TARDIS, who's entered this war zone.
And you get bits and pieces of information, but you never really know the whole picture.
Yeah.
And
like,
hey, Timber.
There's a lot of scenes like where he's being captured, where he's just like, I don't understand this.
And
you know, if things had gotten worse,
yeah,
he may have been killed.
Yeah.
And then there's also that part where he gets his foot stuck in a mushroom.
Yeah, and... Excuse me. He's fantastic. And also, he's a great audience surrogate for those coming in with fresh eyes. Him being like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yes.
He works really well as an audience stand-in by that point, and just... he's got a function in the narrative, and as a character in the way he interacts with the world... He's really well defined, and Ian Marter's performance is great.
Yes, and he's always fun. But the real standout is obviously Sarah Jane. And I mentioned in the school reunion review about one of her best qualities is when she acts as a human moral compass for the Doctor.
Yeah.
That happened in school reunion, you know, obviously when the Krillitane were tempting him with, you know, the power to bring Gallifrey back.
Yeah.
And she obviously, you know... gave an alternative to that, and it was a very powerful scene. That is done in Genesis of the Daleks. You know, interestingly, the opposite way round, where she's thinking, from her knowledge, the Daleks are the personification of evil. Yeah. And she, you know, throughout the 6 parts, she's seen what they're doing, and she's like, "Why don't you get rid of them?" Yeah. And obviously, you have the Doctor say, "Do I have the right?" So to have her have that side of the debate and that sort of moral compass, I think is fantastic.
Sorry, excuse me.
Also, I love her yellow rain jacket.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. She has some, like, weirdly in the 70s, she's wearing, like, modern hipster clothing. Yeah. It's interesting. It's weird. Yeah.
The 70s are back, baby. I mean, who am I to judge? I'm here wearing a denim shirt. But, yeah, she's incredible in it, and it's one of Elizabeth's... Again, I sound like a broken record, but it's true. It's one of Elizabeth Sladen's best performances in the role. She's just incredible in it. And
as is another story we're not going to talk about in this video, but one we're recording later.
Yeah. It's just...
I'll let you figure out what that is. We'll find it out.
Yeah, I'll find out. But no, she's great. Ian's great. Doctor's great. Great.
Yes. However, Sarah Jane and Harry, or Perry,
they're both written in terms of in terms of the way they are in the world so well. It's so hard to say between the sacrifice the Fifth Doctor makes to save Perry and Sarah being the moral compass for the Fourth.
and Harry Sullivan.
And Harry Sullivan.
This one's tough.
Straw poll.
Oh, there's so many reasons why I could go for either.
I think I'm just going to have to give the nod to Sarah Jane. Because I feel like, obviously, the Fifth Doctor regenerated, but in terms of something that had longer lasting effects throughout the history of the show, specifically in the revival, that debate that the Doctor and Sarah Jane have, you can feel the effects of in Tennant. A little bit in Eccleston, but a lot in Tennant, especially towards the latter years of his tenure, and a little bit in Smith and Capaldi, but it's maybe sort of forgotten about. But yeah, I think purely just for significance to the overall, obviously the Fifth Doctor regenerated, but in terms of the Doctor's character through regenerations, not just him dying and becoming a new body, if you know what I mean. Like there's a sort of moral standing that the Doctor decides, no, this is a line I cannot cross, that for the most part is followed all the way through.
Yes, and also in Genesis of the Daleks you get Harry Sullivan, and in the Caves of Androzani you don't get Frobisher.
That's true. Give us Frobisher, man. He's great. I want Frobisher on screen.
Yes. But yes, yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree. But very, very close. However, the next one, I think the next one for me might be the hardest one to choose. I'm willing to hear you out for this one, depending on what you think, but for me, like, the next one might be, like, dead equal, so I'm really on the fence. It is the villains.
Equal. Okay. Oh no, I suppose we have to talk about them first. But I've got a reasoning for why I put one slightly above the other.
Hang on. We'll start with Genesis of the Daleks. We've got Davros, obviously. And then we've got the Daleks, the Thals, and the Khaleds as well. And you've got like the characters in there, like there's like the, I don't remember his name, but he's like meant to be the Himmler to Davros' Hitler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The second in command, basically.
Yeah. Genesis has a lot of characters playing on the villain side, but obviously Davros is the big one. And he's got his little court of horrible people.
His, group of bastards.
In terms of performance, impeccable. Michael Wisher is perfect.
Yeah. And it, I mean, what can we say? He's Davros, You all know. You're watching this video. You know. Like, okay. The fact that he cannot move at all. Like, he can move his head a little bit and he's got his hand. But that's it. He's so immobile. And yet he is so powerful. And so domineering of the story and every scene he's in without it seeming ridiculous. That's just a testament to the performance, as well as the incredibly strong character writing.
Yeah, because the dialogue for him is amazing. It's iconic.
Because there's points... It's funny, because it's almost like he's the inverse of the Doctor in the story, in terms of... There are parts in this story where it seems like the Doctor teeters on insanity to do a really potentially horrid thing. And Davros is the flip, where there's clearly almost faintly... There's almost like an altruistic scientist in there somewhere, but he's just blinded by the fact that he's like, no, I'm a fucking genius and I'm here to save you. He's got a messiah complex. And
And also the fact that this one story has led to so much brilliant material on it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it influenced the Time War. It influenced, so many things subsequently in, big... Of course, all mediums. Comics, books, the show itself.
Absolutely.
Big Finish, obviously. It's just a delight. And the fact that we've got Davros from this many years down the line.
And Davros as well.
And Davros. Oh, Davros is so good.
Mm-hmm. You think about the 80s Dalek trilogy, Davros is great in all three of those.
Yeah?
Yep.
Even though different actors, but...
Well, Terry Malloy was for the 80s.
Yeah.
Goodison, I haven't seen
He's
that.
a lovely man, Terry Malloy.
Destiny's on the list, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, he's
Goodison.
Well, yep, you'll have to see. I cannot say either way. But yes, Davros is Davros, and he's incredible.
And then there's also the Daleks, the Thals, and the Khalids, which I think they all sort of play their part.
Yeah, they're more sort of an amorphous, constant threat.
Yeah, I think some people tend to get a little bit disappointed when they expect this to be like Dalek Mania.
Yeah.
That's not what it is.
No.
The story isn't meant to be like Dalek Mania. It's not like...
It's a World War II allegory.
It's not like... It's not like the Dalek invasion of Earth where or power or evil where there's like just Daleks everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's much more of a slow burn political drama than that.
Yeah, and the group of Daleks is smaller, which makes sense because it's the genesis of the Daleks. It's more about their origin and the text around the Daleks rather than the Daleks themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you want like shooty bang bang Daleks, resurrection or chase or invasion of Earth, but not this one.
Yeah.
But I
Remembrance even.
Yeah, but But I don't mind that though because I like that it's more about the story of the Daleks.
No, it's more about the effect of war and how far it pushes a person. That's really what the story's about. How the need to survive, can potentially lead to a tunnel vision of survival and a tunnel vision of... It's a place where these kind of, people in power lose sight of everything. They just stop seeing their soldiers as people and just start seeing them as numbers for an algorithm that they want to crack and win, And
also, the twist that the Thals, who we were actual friends with in the Daleks...
Yeah.
That we were sort of a little bit hesitant on, but neutral with in Planet, because I watched Planet recently, and now they are a threat in Genesis.
Yeah. It's like there's been a progression there, and it's, even though, time travel and what, but, in terms of the narrative where we find ourselves. But yeah, they're all great. The Genesis is great.
Absolutely. And then we now have to compare that to the Caves of Androzani, which has two villains, Morgus and Shiraz Jack. I don't even know where to start, really. I suppose...
What, the creepiest Doctor Who villain.
Shiraz Jack, yeah. The thing is, he's not even really a villain.
No, he's just twisted. On paper, that could have been such a silly design. But the performance and the writing and the direction just makes him just the most skin-crawling, Hannibal Lecter-like... He says things so,
Yes, and also, I was talking about Perry before. Some of my favourite scenes in Caves are the scenes between Shiraz, Jack and Perry. The way he's so perverted over her, but not like in the same way that other characters are.
It's not what... It is that he's lusting after her, but it's also not that it's her... But he's lusting after someone he considers to be flawlessly beautiful. Because he's so in his own head about himself and the way he looks. He projects that out and sees Perry and almost views her as like a goddess, like perfection, and he just must. He's insane and he's so creepy. And the performance is so chilling. Yeah. It's incredible.
And then to contrast the just insane, crazy, wild Shiraz Jack with the Fifth Doctor.
Yeah.
It's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Fifth Doctor being the well-mannered gentleman.
Yeah. And then it's just so powerful. It's such a powerful... Because I remember watching it the first time as a kid and just... He always stuck out to me. Actually, there's two things that stuck out to me in Caves. Him and Colin Baker first appearing. Because that's probably the best post-regeneration scene in the franchise. Don't at me. I'm right.
You breaks the fourth wall.
Change, my dear. And not a moment too soon. Great. It's great.
Foreshadowing.
3 eyes in one sentence makes you sound rather egotistical, young lady. I love Colin Baker, man.
Yep. You still put the twin dilemma in your bottom 10 though, last year.
Yeah, bad.
But Shiraz Jack, amazing. And Morgus as well.
Yes. Oh god, yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of breaking the fourth wall, he breaks the fourth wall a lot. But it's sometimes you don't know if it's
I think it's more of a sort of old television theatre like framing of saying your monologues out to the audience. You know, it's an inner thought, but I'm saying it out loud. I'm not like I'm looking just to the left of the lens, but it's probably going to look like I'm almost, you know, capturing the person's eye, and I'm speaking. I'm saying my thoughts. You know, it's not quite the fourth wall, but it's to grab the audience's eyes and be like, listen to what he is saying.
It's not like Martha and Journey's End when she actually looks at the camera on the sky. I think it's on the sky.
Yeah. But that's, you know, that there is a framing. There's a within the universe lore reason for why she's looking down the barrel of the lens. I'm so excited to have her back in Big Finish.
She's in the Torchwood, isn't she?
Yeah, fucking finally.
Well, but they still need to do a 10th Doctor Adventures with her.
Yeah. Duh. Bring back anything to do with Series 3. But yes.
But yeah, Morgus, he's a bastard, isn't he?
Oh, he's a right bastard.
Doesn't he throw someone... Is it him gets thrown down the shaft, or does he throw someone else down the shaft?
Oh, God. I think it's him. Yeah.
That's a great scene.
Yeah. And the direction, which I think is the category, so I won't dwell too much on that, but the way...
It's not a category.
Yeah. All right. Well, the way that they are framed, Graham Harper's first...
Yeah, his first as primary director.
Yeah, because he'd done second unit stuff and stuff, I think, before. But this is, as the primary director, holy shit. The dripping atmosphere from every frame. And, like, you look it up, just Genesis, Caves of Androzani, and that's something that's so commonly talked about, is the way that it looked so different from everything else in Peter Davison's era. Like, it's just so rich. Well, rich not in terms of, like, bright colours or anything, but rich in terms of there's so much texture to the world. Like, it feels like I should be wearing a face mask while watching it because it's so dusty and I don't want to breathe it in, you know? It's feels so lived in. And bringing it round to the point of the villains, the way they are directed, just using the camera, Graham Harper uses cinematic language to simply convey the fact that these guys, one of them's fucked and the other one is just a bastard. It's just, so good.
Absolutely. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to give it to Caves purely based on one thing. So before we said they were like even, right? How many other occurrences has Davros had in the franchise? And yet, Shiraz Jack is just as powerful a villain in the entire Doctor Who lore. That's the only way I can rectify it, because comparing them episode by episode for these two stories, you can't, because they're so brilliant. And the only reason I just put it at Caves is because of that, because he only had the one appearance. But yes, that's the reason I give it to caves.
Well, considering I'm on the fence and one of us is on one side, I suppose that means that Caves wins that one.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because I don't have a choice.
Yep,
so,
no worries.
So it's like half a point rounded up to 1.
Okay. Or we could just do it as 1.5. Or 0.5.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Because currently I think Dr. Caves, it went to Caves unanimously. Because if we have half a point each to us, and then we can...
Alright, so
it's currently... Caves is currently at 1.5, and Genesis is at 1.
Alright then. So, the plot. They're both miserable and dark and awful and great.
And make you feel dirty watching them.
Yes. I'm going to give this one... I know I'm jumping the gun, but it's kind of talking about the plots of both is sort of... would require you to go into a review, which we don't have time for today. No. But I'm sure all of you have seen it, understand that the plots of Genesis and Caves. Genesis, obviously, Dalek planet, political, very Nazi-based, but it is the ultimate fan wank because it's the origin of the Doctor Who's most famous villains, and it has... You couldn't have done it better because it's Davros.
And it builds on the lore and doesn't fuck it up. That's the thing is, there are so many prequels where they, tamper with things or do things that weren't mentioned before, and you're like, well, that kind of lessens the threat. But nope, not in this case.
And you know the story. Caves, very similar yet slightly different. Not pre-established, but all new characters, but a world that is set up primarily to function for the Fifth Doctor's final story. And it is done perfectly.
Yeah.
However, plot, I'm going to give this to Genesis of the Daleks.
I agree.
The reason being, Caves is more of a character story than Genesis is. However, Genesis has more of a plot than Caves does.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yes. Which gives Genesis 2 points and Caves 1.5. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Ooh, it's neck and neck.
It is. Now.
Yes.
The 5th category. Significance.
How the fuck are we supposed to quantify this? One builds on the lore incredibly, positively. One is a regeneration story which perfectly sums up that iteration of the character and is generally considered one of the best classic stories. My pick is Earthshock. Yeah. That's such a tough question. How do you quantify their significance?
This is what it's up to us to find out.
It's like... It's hard to say. You can't... Because they're both significant for completely different reasons. So it makes it quite a challenge to, discern them. That's the word I was grabbing for. It's tricky. What do the audience think? You guys vote in the straw poll, and the winner of the straw poll wins.
I've just had a thought though.
Yeah.
You mentioned something. You mentioned direction before. That was something that I didn't consider as a category. But now thinking about it, I think we may need to make a 6th category.
Caves.
Yep.
Genesis, like especially the opening scenes where it's like the gas masks and shit, and it's like, oh god, this is immediately off. This feels daunting. Caves, the whole way through is building tension, and that's primarily due to the writing and directing, and it's just. Again, as I said before, dripping with atmosphere. Yep. So That's half a point from my end to Caves.
As is mine, so that means 2.5 Ks to Genesis, and then significance will decide it.
Yeah. So currently,
I'm gonna make. I know what my answer is. My answer, because obviously we get half point each. My answer for significance is Genesis of the Daleks, which puts them at the same level, doesn't it?
2.5
each.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I
Then I'm gonna do the tiebreaker.
The reason why I picked.
How does that work? There's two of us.
Oh, because you get half a point.
I see.
And they're both on 2.5.
I see, because they had 5 categories.
6 categories.
6 categories.
Because we added direction to it.
I feel like there's a piece of math we've missed here, but that's fine.
It was meant to be 5, but because we did half points, I can allow 6.
Okay.
I choose Genesis because not only is it significant in in general, but within the context of the show, Genesis has had an impact on events further than itself. Caves is more of an impact on the Doctor as a character within that moment, and obviously going forward. But in terms of the story of Doctor Who, I think Genesis is the pinpoint of a lot of events.
I agree.
However, there is an argument for Caves as well.
Well, because Caves also sets the example of the pacifist Doctor, which that also, in terms of the pacifist Doctor being completely on the back foot, is a trope. The difference is, from a writing perspective, behind the scenes, I think Caves has had more significance in terms of the direction of the character, whereas Genesis, specifically within the lore of the universe, has had a much greater domino effect. So,
what about significance on pop culture? Or Doctor Who culture, or whatever.
Because one gave us Davros, the other gave us the 6th Doctor. So, by that logic, and that logic alone, to make a decision, my half point goes to Caves. Purely because it introduced the 6th Doctor. There we are.
Even though, when talking about cultural impact, that's not considered a positive one.
No, but it is to me. So yeah, it's my point to do with as I please. So,
Caves wins by half a point.
By half a point, but we'll read the straw poll. Like once this is out, we'll read the straw poll. Go and vote on it.
Yes.
And then we'll add up your guys' thing as well and see what y'all think.
Don't say that.
You all think about that. I don't know where that came from.
There is a video on this calendar where I will read it out. I can't reveal what day it is and when it will be and what video that is. But there is a video on this calendar where I will read out that straw poll. So,
see you then.
Get voting. Hang on, let me just check my notes if there's anything else. No, not really. Just comment below what you're thinking and do the straw polls, and hopefully you enjoyed day 1 of this calendar.
More to come soon.
Tell me what you think of the intro I made.
Ooh.
You've seen the intro.
I have.
What do you think of it?
I like it.
Yes, tell me what you think of the intro I made. I put a lot of hard work and effort into it, as I have done for this calendar as a whole. And at the time of recording, I still have a lot of work to do. So, yay! But yeah, it's great to do this calendar again. I hope you guys enjoy it. We've got a lot planned, a lot coming up soon. Some of the hardest work I've ever done for the channel has gone into this calendar. So I hope you all enjoy it, because last year was a big project. So this year I'm, especially considering there's no series on at the moment, I don't have any reviews of episodes to fill it in with. So I have gone out of my way to try and chock-a-block the calendar with as much content as I could possibly think of that would actually be worth watching.
We've gone Russell T Davies and just gone balls to the wall with as much as we can.
Yes. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this calendar, what you thought of day 1, and hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of it. see you next time tomorrow. Same time.
Same bat channel.
Yeah, for day 2.